Luke 19:27. Those my enemies, which would not that I should reign over them, bring them hither and slay them before me. Okay, for those who haven't read the book from cover to cover, you can go on pretending that this is a scene from Star Wars. Use the Force, Luke! So, where am I going with all of this? Well, truth. Interesting word. Or at least the perception of truth. And the desire for truth by the so-called truth seekers. There is a truth movement, but you can divide this into many factions, and this is one of the big problems. Everyone's arguing their own truth. Some people are taking from the religious aspect. Fine, we'll read your book from cover to cover then, okay? And realize that that is only part of the entire world. And it was a book written by men. First thing. Now, what is truth? Truth is a perceived reality of things, okay, based on your experience of the world, your knowledge, but your knowledge is therefore something that comes from your memory and your understanding based on your perception of the information that you have received, okay, and part of it from a feeling, okay, the sensation, but your sensations, okay, now here you're going to have to get into a bit of the work concerning the connections between neurobiology. No, that's going to get too complicated, and you're going to be digging too deep, and people are doing a lot of work, years and years of work in this, so let's leave that for the moment, okay? Just know that your feelings are based on a lot more, and I will talk a little bit more about the workings of the brain some other time, I hope, right and left sort of stuff. Anyway, so your memory. Now, if you want to look into memory, okay, you've got to understand how memory works. Not everybody does understand how memory works. A lot of people think it's photographic. Well, as I remember, it was this, and poof, that was the image. Your memory is something that is upgraded. Okay, you have to look into perception and cognition on this, okay? I would suggest for first-timers to do a bit of research into the work of a woman called Elizabeth Loftus. I will put some links over whichever side, okay, to suggest there. Some people, like when I was reading it, was thinking, no shit, Sherlock, you know, when they get into witness testimony. You're telling me? Other people will be like, no, this doesn't sound true. Read it with an open mind. Consider it, okay? Consider the examples and then try to experiment in real life. It's the only way to find your own truth. Okay? Now, yeah, with that said, okay, do your research into how the mind works, okay? It's yours, okay? Don't accept everything as it is. I mean, especially that concept of reading parts of a book and thinking I've understood parts of it, and switching on YouTube and listening to some crazy video, think, oh my God, that's the truth, it must be, yes, that explains everything, and someone's only said something like, you know, in 5-10 minutes, you know. That's simple. The truth is that simple, okay? For some it is. I want to talk about a guy called Persinger. I will try to put some links into there where you can start looking at some of his research. He does some interesting experiments, or he did some interesting experiments a few years back, where basically he would take some volunteers into his nice little soundproof laboratory, which he would sit them on this like converted dentist chair, you know, float back, okay, without any gas or anything like that, and put a motorcycle helmet on their head. The motorcycle helmet had several holes drilled into it, which they'd put solenoids. Solenoids are basically coils with a soft iron core, which can pulse out electromagnetic fields, okay, frequencies. And he put them on their head, and then he would stand out the room in this little room, okay, in a separate room, okay, with monitoring equipment in that room, but it was dark, soundproof, so there was no external factors interrupting with the guinea pig. And he had basically, well, it was like a mixed disc from a DJ, you know. And he could adjust the frequencies of each of the solenoids. And he discovered he could create sensations within the patient. And he also discovered that some people are more susceptible than others. Okay, and this puts down to the lability of the temporal lobes, okay, which is connected somewhat to creativity. And I talked a little bit about creativity in flat-footed bipeds. I can't explain everything because it would take you years okay, of YouTube videos to go through this. It would be like going to several years of lectures on various different topics, okay, at university. And I know there's a problem here because people say, oh, university established orthodox education. What else you got, man? Because if you haven't got that, you've only got your fantasy. And if you're going to build your reality on your fantasy, you're never going to have a shared understanding of reality. Because everyone else is going to have their particular view. It's like the blind men feeling around the elephant. Okay? One feels the trunk and says, oh, it's a snake. Another one feels a leg and says, no, no, it's a tree. Yeah? You need to put as many points of view together to create a global reality, or a sense of shared reality. Okay? And you'll never do that by jumping at the first conclusions. Okay, next I will move on to a thing called H.A.A.R.P. Okay, I'm not going to go a lot into the H.A.A.R.P thing. It's just important that you understand that it does a lot with electromagnetic waves, and it's quite a big system, and people are pumping a lot of money in there, so there must be something to it. There must be a reason. What is it? Do some research into that, and remember that there are always side effects to bad science, let's call it. You've only got to look at the nuclear bombs. You've got to look at the CFCs, okay, which we were lucky that they were CFCs and not the BFCs, which they were originally thinking about looking. But you can also look into that. Okay, I'm not going to tell you this because you're going, oh, no, it's not true, it's not true. Do your own research, but do it deeply. Interesting thing with the concepts concerning Persinger and his little experiment. A correlation that he discovered was that between earthquakes and the reports of people being abducted by UFOs. Now, people are going to go, no, it's true, UFOs exist, UFOs exist. Maybe. But I was abducted. Maybe. Okay, the truth is in your mind. Often people will jump to the first solid rock, okay, to hold on to give themselves an explanation of fact that they can't explain. When you have an earthquake, you have a lot of force, okay, pushing together, and very often it's granite against granite, and granite contains a lot of silicon. Now, if you have one of those little cigarette lighters that you click like that, not the one with the flint, okay, the one that has that piezoelectric effect, what you're doing is you're putting force on a piece of quartz, and that releases an electron. By releasing a lot of electrons, you're creating an electromagnetic field, okay? And the Earth is covered in electromagnetic fields, and as we know, the nervous system works on the potential difference between sodium and potassium. Okay? Yeah, electricity, electromagnetic fields, that thing again. Okay? Do your research on it. Interesting enough, he claims that his correlations also go through history and time, where there have been mass reports of things like werewolves and vampires, although I would say some of those also fit into plagues caused by ergot, which is a little sort of, looks like a little worm, but it's a fungus that grows on rye. And it was generally given to the poor. Okay, but I'll let you do your research onto that as well, the effects of a form of LSD in that, okay, which is a mind-controlling substance. There are a lot of natural effects, and there are a lot of unnatural effects, and there are a lot of effects that just come through by stupidity. But please, do your research. That's all I'm saying. There's a lot more to look at. There's a lot more to look at in depth.